All right, welcome in, guys. Farzin Vasugian here with you for another episode of the Chief Zone podcast. Hope you're all doing well. I am streaming live in the middle of a storm. We're expecting some hail. We're expecting some tornadoes. So if you are in the Kansas City area like I am, stay safe, seek shelter, turn on the podcast while you're in the middle of this chaos. And obviously, if you're outside of the Kansas City area, hopefully you're not dealing with anything like this. But yeah, I'm choosing a very interesting time to do this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets from there. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, you can use my promo code Farzine and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. You just got to look up the tickets you want to go. You want to go to an NCAA tournament game, one of the conference tournament games going on right now. Baseball season's coming up. NBA, NHL still going on right now. WWE, UFC, any concert you want to go to. And if you're a new customer, once you pick your tickets in the promo code area, put in my name, Farzine, and you will save $20 off if you're a new customer. And hey, can't beat that. $20 off going to an event of some sort. So do that. Take advantage of that offer. It's only good for first-time customers only. And you can enjoy $20 off your first event on me. Enjoy that. All right. I see a lot of you guys coming in here to the live chat on Facebook and YouTube. I appreciate you guys. I apologize for not doing a podcast on Monday. I did say, let me just first off say this has been a chaotic week for me. Okay, I'm just reading this little update here. It's not really a major update. It's regarding a 4-year qualifier contract offer that the Chiefs can still use. Anyway, what I was going to say here is this has been a wild couple of weeks for me. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details. I was actually going to start playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on Saturday night. Some of you guys have been asking if I started to play that yet. My answer has always been no. I was going to start Saturday night, and boom, the Chris Jones news came out. So this has been a very busy few weeks. Jim, I see you. Marcus, Kyle, William, I see all of you guys. I see a couple of you guys asking questions as well. We will get into all of that. We've got a lot to get into here, as the Chiefs have been very busy, not necessarily making new acquisitions to the team, but definitely trying their best to keep their roster together and freeing up cap space at the same time. It's actually been a lot of fun to see Brett Veach continue to do all these things in the midst of all the chaos here. So let's get right into that. Obviously, the big news over the weekend, the Chris Jones news, the Chiefs keeping him, which was absolutely big for the defense. And a lot of people wondered, would this happen? Would this not happen? Because of the agency there with the Katz brothers. But the Chiefs found a way to make it work. The Katz brothers, yeah, they got their way in the end of it. And I think there's a lot of talk here that the Raiders had a hand in this, because the Raiders 1,000% had their sights on Chris Jones. And I think with the Christian Wilkins signing, that is pretty evident there. Hey, why would you not want to steal a big name playmaker from a division rival? That's what you should do. A guy who's won 3 championships with the other teams. So see, Chris is saying that I fear the Jones contract is really going to hinder the Chiefs after this year. Okay, let's go over this for a second here, because I've seen a lot of people say this kind of thing. Chris Jones is still playing at a very high level. Let's not forget that. His presence right in the middle of that defensive line has helped George Karlaftis. It's helped Charles Omenihu. It's helped Mike Dana. A lot of guys on that defense right there. And by the way, not just the defensive line, the linebackers as well. I mean, Chris Jones right there in the middle, essentially helping create a hole for Willie Gay to blast through and demolish Joe Mixon behind the line of scrimmage by a couple of yards on that 4th and 1. That moment right there seemed to really turn the Chiefs season around. It really did. That moment right there, I thought, was the turning point in the Chiefs season. So the Chiefs keeping Chris Jones. They re-signed Drew Tranquill to a bargain deal, a 3-year, $19 million deal. They brought back Colin Saunders, which I'm very excited about, and I hope he continues to do big things with the Chiefs. Charles Goldman put out a very interesting point today on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, saying that the Chiefs have not missed a Super Bowl with Colin Saunders. So all of the 4 Super Bowls the Chiefs have reached with this core group of guys. Colin Saunders is kind of like the Robert Horry of the Chiefs here. He's kind of like the good luck charm and has made some significant plays when people least expect it. So it's good to see. And by the way, while we're on the topic of defensive linemen, let's not forget about a guy like Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who the Chiefs got in the first round from Kansas State, obviously a local kid, KC kid here. And what if a guy like him gets an opportunity to start in week 1? I'm excited to see that, because Charles Omenihu, as much as I would prefer Omenihu to be the week 1 starter, Omenihu is coming back from that ACL surgery and suffering that in late January and trying to get ready for September. That is an uphill battle. And listen, I hope he can overcome the odds and make significant improvement. Hopefully, rehab and all that stuff goes faster than expected. But realistically speaking, it might not happen right away. So I'm curious to see what how the Chiefs defensive line is going to look. It's obviously going to have Chris Jones right in the middle, right there, number 95. Which I'm glad to see. Colin Saunders is going to be a part of it, which is good because you are a little thin on the defensive tackle position, and so the Chiefs definitely doing their best to keep a couple of their defensive tackles, Chris Jones and Colin Saunders, which is good. Now the Chiefs also restructured Patrick Mahomes' contract, which freed up more than $21 million in cap space, which was a pretty significant thing for this team to do. Was very pertinent. Otherwise, keeping L'Jarius Sneed, which is still an option, and we'll see what happens there. That helps your chances of getting. Oh, by the way, did I say Colin Saunders? No, I'm sorry. I meant Mike Pennel. I apologize. I said Colin Saunders. I meant Mike Pennel. Yeah, my bad, guys. Yeah, I wish Colin Saunders was back. But Willie Gay is no longer part of the defense. He is going to go join Colin Saunders and Tyrann Mathieu, reuniting with them in New Orleans. So, yeah, my apologies. I have written down Colin Saunders for some reason on my notes here. I don't know why I thought that. Mike Pennel is the guy I meant to say. So, I apologize. I misled a lot of you in the chat. Some of you guys got excited. Colin Saunders is a big dude, though. Would love to have him back, but no, he is in New Orleans, and Pennel is the guy that the Chiefs resigned. So I apologize for misspeaking there. Okay, so Mahomes restructuring his deal, absolutely important for the Chiefs, because that freed up more than $21 million in cap space. And the Chiefs right now, and I'll give you the approximate number, it is, if I can get this ad out of the way, $15.3 million in cap space right now. That's not great, but it's definitely much better than where it was 24 to 48 hours ago, because the Chiefs were actually under the cap, or over the cap by more than $5 million. If you guys saw what the Buffalo Bills did last week, they went through a roster purge because they needed to do everything possible to keep their top 51 under the cap. When you look at the LA Chargers, they went through an unfortunate purge. Mike Williams, who a lot of Chiefs fans are hoping comes to Kansas City. He's a free agent right now because of the salary cap situation. And I know the Chiefs have not been in the prettiest spot over the years with the salary cap, but you know what? Brett Veach has found a way to make it work every single year. And you haven't seen the Chiefs give up a lot of big names outside of Tyreek Hill. And I mean, I know Tyreek, other than Tyreek Hill. Yeah, of course. I'm omitting one of the biggest names on this Chiefs dynasty that's been a part of this group. Obviously not the entire time, but ever since the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill, They've won the Super Bowl every year without him. 7-0 in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Dolphins are 0-2 in the playoffs with Tyreek Hill, one of them against Kansas City. So obviously shows you who won that trade. 1,000. I mean, listen, I don't think you should ever determine who won a blockbuster trade after 2 seasons. But when you won the Super Bowl every year without that player and the other team's 0-2 in the playoffs with that player they acquired, obviously referring to Tyreek Hill, and also 0-2 against Tyreek Hill's former team, the Chiefs, I think we can just go ahead and say that the Chiefs have won this trade. Steve says, I'm done doubting Veach. I completely trust him to do the right thing. Yeah, I think Brett Veach has just proven year after year that he knows what to do. Is it going to be smooth sailing the entire time? Hell no, it's not. Listen, I'm seeing Chiefs fans complain, why aren't the Chiefs getting anybody? Because they've only signed one player so far, one newcomer, I should say, so far in Irv Smith Jr., the former tight end from the Bengals, which might be the domino effect to see Jody Fortson go out. He went from a restricted to an unrestricted free agent, so he is free to talk to other teams and sign with them. But the Chiefs, to my understanding, do want him back. So we'll see. We'll see what they do there. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate it. I got this on their way to Super Bowl 55. But by the way, I don't know how many of you guys care about this. At the end, I do want to talk about the opportunity I had to meet Henry Winkler over the weekend. So I'm going to say that for the end of the podcast because I'm going to discuss the event and everything and all of that a little more later. But I just thought of it because this is a Comic-Con, related type of shirt there. But the Chiefs freeing up all that cap space, and they've got an opportunity to do some things right now. There are some guys in free agency. A lot of people wanted Calvin Ridley to come to Kansas City. He is no longer on the market as he signed a very hefty 4-year, $92 million deal with the Tennessee Titans, I think it was? The Tennessee Titans. So he's definitely not coming to Kansas City. But when you look at the wide receivers who are available right now, you have T. Higgins, who wants a trade. I'm telling you right now, stop with the T. Higgins trade scenarios. It's not happening. The Bengals are competing against the Chiefs. They're not trading Higgins to Kansas City, a team that keeps winning Super Bowls, unless the Chiefs are promising first-round draft picks for the next 5 years, which, again, obviously unrealistic. Hollywood Brown still out there. I know a lot of people would love to see him. He's kind of gone down a little bit over the last couple of years in Arizona after being acquired by the Titans. So we'll see if the Chiefs make a play for him. Odell Beckham Jr., this is probably a guy who is very inexpensive, had some flashes in Baltimore, and I know a lot of people are going to point out his stats in Baltimore. It's Baltimore. Who's throwing the ball to him? It's Lamar Jackson. And listen, props to Lamar, 2 MVPs, one unanimous, the other one I think almost unanimous. But that's not a guy that's going to get it done at the end of the day in the playoffs and in the passing game. That's not why he's winning the MVP awards. I mentioned T. Higgins with the Bengals. Right now, Tyler Boyd also available, who I think would be a good receiver in Kansas City's offense. Curtis Samuel still out there, DJ Chark Jr., Michael Thomas, a longtime veteran in the NFL, available. Josh Reynolds, KJ Osborne, Cedric Wilson Jr., MVS, who I shouldn't say unexpectedly, but not expected to come back. Braxton Berrios from the Miami Dolphins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Byron Pringle. I would love to see a reunion with Byron Pringle in Kansas City. The speed that this guy has, I think, goes well with Andy Reid's offense. I don't know what the interest level there is, but listen, the Chiefs brought back Blake Bell. They brought back Mike Pennell. We've seen reunions before with this core unit. So I hope the Chiefs consider a reunion with Byron Pringle. He knows the offense. He's working with Mahomes. He's got the skill set to be a part of this offense. You never really had drop issues with him. So I would not be opposed to that as well. Chase Claypool still out there as well as Paris Campbell. So those are some of the notable wide receivers that are available in free agency. Yeah, Robert just mentioned Hunter Renfrow. That news broke a couple of hours ago. The Raiders did release him. I've always liked Hunter Renfrow. I think he's a good receiver. Part of an offense that, I think has had a lot of talent, I should say. They had Josh Jacobs, who's moved on. Devontae Adams has been there a couple of years now. Renfrow, obviously Henry Ruggs, obviously came to a very unfortunate ending given his off the field incident. They've had a lot of great players, Darren Waller, but the guy throwing the ball to them was just not. He's just not that dude. You guys know my thoughts on that, so I'm not going to go through all of this all over again. So I'm at the end of the day, how do you tackle this whole wide receiver project here? What do? You have a guy like Hollywood Brown who's out there, gonna have to probably spend some money on him. Odell Beckham Jr. might be a very inexpensive player, but I think there are a lot of people out there that worry about his age and maybe if he gets hurt at that point. Tyler Boyd, I think, could be a very good starting wide receiver in the NFL. I've said this many times. I would not be opposed to having Tyler Boyd in Kansas City. Michael Thomas, great receiver, but he's up there in age. Berrios, I mean, listen, Miami, the way Miami runs its offense, not too different from Kansas City's. So I think Braxton Berrios would be a perfect fit for the Chiefs, and a guy that I don't think would be very expensive to bring in either. And keep in mind, Berrios was not a guy they used a whole lot when you consider the fact that they had 2,000-yard receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So, and by the way, I meant to bring this up. There are a lot of rumors about Miami trying to work on certain deals so they can get more cap space. I heard Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin put out the idea that they might need to restructure Tyreek Hill's contract. Could you imagine that? If Tyreek Hill left Kansas City because of money, a disagreement on guaranteed money, according to Hill on Shannon Sharp's podcast, and you miss out on 2 Super Bowls and you end up restructuring in Miami, boy, that'd be a big L. And by the way, not to get into his personal life, but I know he's had a lot of baby mamas and just got married too. Not really any of my business. Plus, he dealt with a very unfortunate house fire. I have a feeling Tyreek Hill's not going to want to restructure. You're probably going to want to get every dollar that you signed originally with the Dolphins. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But the idea is being thrown out there that if Miami wants to succeed, they need to restructure Tyreek Hill's deal. Oh, boy. If he restructures, misses out on multiple Super Bowls with the Chiefs, I mean, boy, what would that all be for? And the Chiefs would just, that would make them the even bigger winners of that trade, considering how that all panned out. So, yeah, you got some action with the wide receivers there for the Chiefs. So we'll see what they do on that front there. I do want to touch on some other free agent news here. I do want to start with the running backs because the running back market is doing pretty well. It's not doing amazing, but it's doing a hell of a lot better this offseason than last offseason. Because if you guys remember, even up until training camp, you had guys like Austin Eckler, who spoke up about his situation. Jonathan Taylor from the Colts. Obviously, his situation was a huge deal. There were a couple of other running backs that were not happy about not getting what they wanted. Well, you're kind of seeing some running backs. Again, not all of them are massive deals, but running backs certainly are an acquired taste this offseason. For example, Derrick Henry to the Baltimore Ravens. Great signing. 2 years, $16 million. Can this help lift Lamar Jackson in the postseason? Get him to a Super Bowl? I don't know, man, because you have to be able to throw the ball if you want to make a deep playoff run. That's been the issue in Baltimore. Yeah, he's won a couple of games, but then when it matters in the big moment, Lamar Jackson does not step up. The Ravens have had the number 1 seed a couple of times with Lamar and have not been able to reach a Super Bowl. So I'm not exactly sure what the future holds in Baltimore. I know they just paid Lamar Jackson, but if getting arguably the most talented running back in NFL history, in my opinion, not named Emmett Thomas, or excuse me, Emmett Smith. Emmett Thomas, the former Chief. If you can't win with this offense you have right now, is Lamar really the guy? I know he's won 2 MVPs. He's won 2 MVPs because of his stylish play, very Michael Vick-esque, but it's not conducive to winning a Super Bowl, let alone trying to reach a Super Bowl. So I don't really know at the end of the day how that's all going to pan out. I like Derrick Henry a lot. I'm a huge fan of Derrick Henry, and seeing the contract, I kind of wish Kansas City was involved in this one here. Him and Pacheco together to do what Thomas Jones and Jamal Charles did in 2010, the best running back tandem that year by a mile. Yeah, I would have loved that, but no, not happening. Saquon Barkley, this one was big, going from the Giants to the Eagles, staying in the NFC East on a 3-year, $37 million deal. Another in-division switch here. Aaron Jones from the Vikings to the Packers. I think I saw someone on the comment section bring that up. Josh Jacobs, former Raider. He is no longer a Raider. 4 years, $48 million with the Packers. So the Packers were able to get their new running back with Aaron Jones moving on. Other running backs, Tony Pollard to the Titans, 3 years, $24 million. Eckler to the Commanders, 2 years, $11 million. Gus Edwards to the Chargers, 2 years, $6.5 million. Zach Moss to the Bengals, 2 years, $8 million. And then they traded Joe Mixon to the Texans. And then DeAndre Swift, 3 years, $24 million on his new deal. So obviously, you're seeing a lot of activity with the running back position. And by the way, to be clear, Swift is going to the Chicago Bears. So interesting to see the running back market in a place here. They're not getting as much money as they might like, but you're definitely seeing teams want running backs right now. There was all this talk last year. Oh, our team's not going to want a running back in the future? No, teams are absolutely willing to spend money on a running back. Maybe not as much as some of these other positions, because we are in a much different league now where it's pass heavy. Now, if you get a guy like Derrick Henry, that is worth the money. He can definitely help your team win. Saquon Barkley, a guy who can definitely help your team win. And I think Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, definitely an upgrade. DeAndre Swift is a good running back. I just think Barkley is even better. So some very interesting moves, to say the least. Washington's had a very busy offseason already. And I'll say this right now. Dan Quinn, I thought, was a great defensive coordinator in Dallas. Obviously, everyone knows what happened in Atlanta with the blown lead in the Super Bowl against the Patriots and several other blown leads. But man, if this is Dan Quinn's last chance at a head coaching job here. And I'm assuming he wants to stay in Washington for a very long time, because if for whatever reason you don't stay there for more than 4 or 5 years, that might be your last shot at being a head coach. So he's got to have a very successful run here. So the Washington Commanders really are going all out, trying to do everything possible to give Dan Quinn the roster he needs to succeed, which is good to see. Because you see teams like the Chicago Bears in years past, they have not been doing much to help their quarterback out, whether it's Justin Fields or Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm not here to defend Mitchell Trubisky, but you kind of need some help. You absolutely need some help. So the Bears are doing more of that this year. You're also seeing Washington go out there, try to improve their roster, which is unfortunate because, I mean, the roster that Eric Bieniemy had to deal with. I don't care if you're the best offensive coordinator in NFL history. No offensive coordinator would want to run that football team. Eric Bieniemy was in a desperate position where he just had to prove himself away from Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed, because nobody was hiring him because they felt like he was a product of that team's overall success with all the talent they have there, personnel and coaching. Let's see. Okay, let's get into this because I just saw Jacob bring this up in the chat room with Gardner Minshew. Yeah, Gardner Minshew. a 2-year, $25 million deal with the Raiders. This used to be considered starting money like 20 years ago. That's not really starting caliber money in the NFL. That's also not backup money either. I have a question because the Raiders just released Jimmy Garoppolo, which was easy to do because he tested positive for PEDs. Well, imagine that you test positive for PEDs and then you lose your job to Aiden freaking O'Connell. Listen, I'm not sure what the end game is for the Raiders. I don't know what their goals are. I don't know what they're trying to. I mean, they want to win, right? But is signing Gardner Minshew to this kind of a contract, is that really going to lead to any wins here? I mean, Raider Nation, I know a lot of you guys follow me. Be honest with me now. You guys really think Gardner Minshew is going to help you win? I mean, sure, you might be able to pull off a miracle win here and there. The Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas. Now, Raiders fans don't brag about that as much because the Chiefs were able to win a Super Bowl in their own home turf. Understand something if you're the Raiders, okay? Patrick Mahomes owns you. One win over Mahomes on Christmas Day does not change that fact. So let's not bullshit one another here, okay? Patrick Mahomes is still your daddy. He is undefeated in that stadium of yours, including a Super Bowl win last month. So the fact that the Chiefs won a playoff game in Allegiant Stadium before the Raiders could even play a playoff game in their own home stadium, I mean, that should piss you off. And any Raider, I saw a Raider fan on Twitter say, well, at least we host Super Bowls. Congratulations. Your city gets money. That doesn't apply to your salary cap. I mean, you can make some nice upgrades to your stadium and to your city. That's cool. Doesn't help your team win, though, at the end of the day. Understand something. The end zone that has the name Raiders on it, because on one side it says Las Vegas and on the other end zone it says Raiders. The side that says Raiders was covered up and they put the name Chiefs on there for the Super Bowl. And the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in overtime in that building. So, listen, I know Raiders fans are very excited about their new head coach and all. I'm telling you right now, he's not it. Christian Wilkins, nice addition. I'm sure it's going to go great with that defensive line with Max Crosby. I don't know if paying a lot of money to defensive linemen is a great way. That's really not the formula to win football games. Yeah, sure, it worked with Chris Jones and Frank Clark, but they also had a hell of a lot more than just Chris Jones and Frank Clark. So I don't know exactly at the end of the day what is the serious end game for the Raiders. Because you're going to sign Gardner Minshew to that deal and possibly draft a quarterback. Good luck with that. Same thing with the Patriots. What are you signing Jacoby Brissett for to a 1-year, $8 million deal? You're not winning nothing with Jacoby Brissett. You're not going to win a lot with him. Because all of the expectations are that the Patriots might draft a wide receiver and they might get Marvin Harrison Jr., which is awesome. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an incredible wide receiver, and I think he's going to have a great NFL career, but not if he has a new quarterback every year in New England. He's essentially going to want out after his contract is over. And I know that, 4 or 5 years down the line is a long ways away, but you're just not going to win with that. Unless you can find a steady quarterback. The Patriots should be targeting a quarterback in there. They just traded the quarterback they got in the first round, Mac Jones, a few years ago. They traded him for a 6th-round pick. And listen, props to New England. They got something out of him. I don't even know if I would trade 20 footballs for Mac Jones. I thought he looked good in the months of October and November, his rookie season. I actually thought he looked great. But that's it. That is the only good thing I've seen from Mac Jones in his NFL career so far. So I'm not exactly sure what their long-term solution, a short-term or long-term solution is, because Jacoby Brissett ain't it. I'll tell you a team that has a long-term solution right now, and that's the Atlanta Falcons, because They signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal. I saw Cam Newton complain about this, saying that this guy has just one playoff win in 12 years, and he just landed himself a massive 4-year contract for a quarterback his age. Cam Newton is not wrong. Cam Newton is not wrong one bit about this. I've said this many times. I mean, we're paying a lot of money to quarterbacks that haven't had a lot of success. Now, I know on Pat McAfee's show, they compared Joe Burrow's numbers to Kirk Cousins' numbers. Burrow's had more wins, but Cousins has far better postseason numbers. Yet, for whatever reason, the Vikings and the Commanders, at the time they were the Redskins, they have not been able to muster a lot of playoff wins whenever those teams had Kirk Cousins. So, topic for another time. Not really something to get into here on this podcast here, but yeah, very interesting to see how that team is panning out, because the Falcons also got Darnell Mooney to a 3-year, almost a $40 million contract. I know some people wanted him in Kansas City. I mean, listen, I want to know if there are 10 people who claim to be diehard football fans and they follow the NFL very closely. I would love to ask those diehard football fans, who was the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons last year? How many people could tell you it was Desmond Ridder? I mean, that was an option for the Falcons to go with Desmond freaking Ridder of all people. Well, now you have Kirk Cousins, who, yeah, is up there in age, but can still get the job done, I think. You got Darnell Mooney, underrated wide receiver, in my opinion. I think this is an offense that can make some strides this season in the NFL. If you have a good draft, and I'm not exactly sure what Atlanta's draft is going to look like in terms of what they might target in a little over a month. But I think this is a team that has an opportunity to show. Because let's look at something here. What division are we talking about? The NFC South. Because I'm pulling this up right now. What was the win-loss record in the NFC South this past year? It wasn't very good, but off the top of my head, I don't have it. It was the Bucs at 9-8, and the Saints were tied with them at 9-8. The year before, Tom Brady's last year in the NFL, the Bucs won the division again, and I believe it was with a record below 500. Was it not? Yeah, it was with an 8-9 record. Everyone else in that division finished with a 7-10 record. Let's go one more year before that. That was when Tom Brady, at 40-something years old, had one of the best seasons he ever had. The Bucs were 13-4. The Saints were 9-8. Falcons 7-10, and Panthers 5-12. So you haven't had a lot of competition, and the Bucs have slipped. Now, the Bucs obviously made it to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game against the Eagles. And yeah, sure, the Eagles may have been declining, but still, it's a playoff win against a very good football team. So this is a great situation for Kirk Cousins to go in, because if the expectation for Kirk Cousins is to lead Atlanta to a division win, it's damn doable in Atlanta. Very doable. So that is, like, if Kirk Cousins picked the Raiders or the Broncos, good luck. You're competing against Patrick Mahomes. Okay. And by the way, there's a guy in there named Justin Herbert who's going to have John or Jim. I always mix them up. I think it's Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh. So that's not a division you want to go to if you're Kirk Cousins, because this might be your last hurrah here. NFC South, great spot if you are Kirk Cousins. That's where Derek Carr went. As much as I think the guy's terrible, that was a good place to go to try to prove yourself. Other quarterback play going on right now, Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is hilarious. Russell Wilson's getting a $1.2 million deal from the Steelers to play for the Steelers. Meanwhile, the Broncos are paying him $38 million to not play for them. Remember in 2015, Charlie Weis was the sixth or seventh highest paid coach in college football that year. How many games did Charlie Weis coach? 0. He coached 0 football games that year, and he was a top 10 paid coach in college football. You want to know why? Because KU and Notre Dame were paying him a lot of money. Charlie Weis got to sit home in Florida with his family and made more than $6 million. So when he was the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, he was getting paid for that year as well. Now, I don't know if there's a rule if he has to be in college football to continue to get paid. I don't know how that all works out, but boy, Charlie Weis made a lot of money to not coach Notre Dame for a very, very long time. I mean, guaranteed money is nice. When you're a head coach, a player, it is pretty damn nice. Let's see. Baker Mayfield re-signed with the Bucs. I just mentioned the NFC South. Yeah, listen, I like Baker Mayfield. I really do. He got a lot of shit coming out of college from the media. A lot of stuff I didn't agree with. I've always liked the guy, and I don't feel bad for athletes often. Like Russell Wilson, we just talked about getting screwed over by the Broncos, who feels bad for Russell Wilson? Seriously, the guy got paid a shit ton of money and heavily underperformed. I don't feel bad for him, and he's getting a lot of money for it. The guy was treated like royalty. He had his own office. He had a lot of things that were very unconventional. I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes does those kinds of. I'm sure, the Chiefs bend the rules a little bit for Patrick Mahomes. To my understanding, the Chiefs actually when the 2020 season was going on, there were a lot of strict rules in place about COVID protocol and family access. To my understanding, the Chiefs were very willing to bend the rules for the Mahomes family. So things like that, yeah, you kind of see that. And by the way, I do think it's silly when we're all asked to do our part to help, get rid of the pandemic, and then we make exceptions for certain people. Don't want to get into that too much here. But my point is this. Russell Wilson just had things that, no one ever thought was necessary. So I didn't feel bad when Russell Wilson got screwed over by the Broncos. The way the Browns treated Baker Mayfield, that was just unfortunate. And then the whole Panthers thing didn't pan out. Then he goes to LA on a very short stint just to finish the season for them. That guy went through a lot in 2022. And it seems like he's found a home. 3-year deal, $100 million to stay in Tampa. Very good. Happy for him. By the way, former Mizzou quarterback Drew Lock signed a 1-year deal for $5 million with the Giants. I'm happy for Drew Lock. I'm not quite sure what this means for the Giants, though. I really don't know what this means for the Giants. So have at it, man. A little bit of wide receivers talk. Somebody mentioned Calvin Ridley getting that massive 4-year, $92 million deal. Brett Veach would not pay for that. Even if he could, he couldn't. Or even if he wanted to, he couldn't. Because the Chiefs are kind of limited on cap space still at the end of the day. Gabe Davis leaving Buffalo and signed a $39 million deal. For whatever reason, I don't have the team he went to. Gabe Davis went to the Jaguars. That's right. So he went to the Jaguars and signed a big deal with them. A lot of people are asking the question, is Buffalo's window closing? My answer to that is no. I'm not ready to shut the door on Buffalo, but it is very close to being shut. Look, this whole thing with Josh Allen, he was young and inexperienced in the AFC title loss to the Chiefs. It was snowing against Cincinnati. The 13-second game, bad luck, bad decisions against the Chiefs. And then Tyler Bass misses. Tyler Bass, that one play. Listen, here's what annoys me about football. I think so many times when people want to point fingers over a loss, They always point it at someone who made a mistake in a very crucial moment in the waning stages of a game. So when a kicker misses a field goal late in the game, everyone points to the kicker. This is why I push back against the whole Dee Ford criticism. Dee Ford being offside was horrible timing, but that is not why the Chiefs lost that football game. Tyler Bass missing that kick in the end, should he have made it? Yes. That's not why you lost that football game if you're Buffalo. What about 2 plays before when Josh Allen overthrew Shakir in the end zone? Oh, but Chris Jones pushed his tackle into it. So what? That's called awareness. You need to move out of the pocket and go make that throw, because if you do that, you probably get a touchdown and you might win that football game. And by the way, after the kick was missed, the game was not over. The defense could have came up with a stop to get the ball back. Why aren't we blaming the defense for that? I'll never understand people who want to blame like one person out of the entire 53-man roster. So anyway, my point about Josh Allen is everyone has excuses for Josh Allen as to why he's not winning football games against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Oh, or the Bengals, another big team. The weather, inexperience in the AFC title game, the 13-second bad decision, the kicker. Man, who's the common denominator? It's Josh Allen. You're just blaming everybody else for his misfortunes in the playoffs. Josh Allen's great. He might get you a lot of stats. That's nice. But he's not winning you the big game at the end of the day. If I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, he has the same AFC championship record as Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm not here to say he is the same as Lamar Jackson, not at all. I would take Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson in a heartbeat. But let's not act like Josh Allen is free of criticism here. He could have played a lot better. Okay, I'll give you the 13-second game. The Buffalo Bills 1,000% should have won that football game. The reason the Chiefs were able to win that football game is because the Bills made a terrible decision. And listen, if you're the Chiefs, you can't ever apologize for that. You have to capitalize on that, because if you don't, someone else will. But other than that, man, it's like, stop blaming everybody else for Allen not being able to lead you to a Super Bowl win. I want to read this comment here from Kyle. He says they changed the overtime rules for Allen and he's 0-5 since then. That's the most hilarious part about all of this. You know what's really funny? I'm the guy that honestly thinks sudden death was way better, because this whole thing about, oh, it's 4th down, should we kick a field goal? Should we punt? Should we go for it? Should we try to go for the touchdown? I hate that. That's stupid. That's not football. You have to play 3D chess. No, I liked sudden death the way it was, and I will acknowledge this right now. If we played the most recent Super Bowl under sudden death rules, the 49ers beat the Chiefs. But no, you all cried, bitched, and moaned when the Chiefs were able to win in overtime twice in the regular season against the Chargers and in the playoffs against the Bills. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs benefited from so many different overtime rule changes over the years that they were able to win that football game in the Super Bowl. So Mike says Josh Allen is Philip Rivers, just more talented. Yeah. That probably doesn't cry as much as Philip Rivers, but yeah, you're onto something there. You're definitely onto something there. I'll read a couple of you guys' comments here. Scott says, Farzine, first thing we do in the draft, wide receiver. Even if you get a good wide receiver in free agency, I still think you have to draft a wide receiver. You're in a pass-heavy league. Give Mahomes every weapon possible. Now, if you do not have a viable left tackle and you don't think there's one that's going to be available in the second round, I like Patrick Paul personally. Fine, drafted left tackle in the first round. Somebody is asking if Xavier Worthy is worth the first-round pick. Jacob, with his recent 40 time, he might be, because if you look at Pro Football Focus's mock draft, so the way it works is you can pick who you want to draft for. You can pick multiple teams. I think I only picked the Chiefs, But you can go 7 rounds. They will do all the other 31 teams, and you can just do the Chiefs. And whenever the Chiefs pick number 32, Xavier Worthy is available. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Xavier Worthy is going to go late first round or early second round. And the Chiefs have the number 32 pick in this year's draft, which is the last pick in the first round, obviously. So I'm very curious to know, what are the Chiefs going to do with the draft this year and how they want to play this whole thing out. Because if they can be aggressive in free agency, and I don't know how aggressive they can be because they don't have that much money, but if they can get one solid wide receiver, and if there's a left tackle they can get that might be able to be better than who they've had the past couple of years in Donovan Smith and Orlando, or maybe they have that guy on the team. Maybe they like Wanya Morris. I don't know. I thought Wanya Morris had some flashes last year. I really like Lucas Niang. I thought he's played very well. And he's still on the team. Now, he was a right tackle when he played for the Chiefs, so I don't know if the Chiefs like the idea of moving him to left tackle. I don't know how comfortable he would be playing left tackle, but I would like to see Lucas Niang get one more opportunity, for sure. A Bills fan told me during the Super Bowl that Allen could take Mahomes' role with KC and win Super Bowls. I said, no, he isn't capitalizing 2 drives, one in the late fourth in overtime with his back against the wall. Listen, I think Josh Allen would benefit in Andy Reid's offense, but the one thing that can be hard to teach is bad habits. Try to get him out of bad habits, I should say. Josh Allen commits a lot of turnovers. I just don't know at the end of the day if that were. And I'm not a big fan of that kind of conversation either, because that is like a hypothetical whole deal. Yeah, Jawan Taylor, a left tackle. Yeah, that might be a possibility. People were thinking the Chiefs would move Jawan from right to left. I don't know how much of a difference that would make. If the Chiefs think that it could make the entire offensive line better, sure. I mean, obviously your interior offensive line is great, but you gotta have good tackles for sure. By the way, speaking of offensive line, before I forget, I want to touch on the offensive guards because they're getting paid this offseason. You look at Kevin Dotson, he re-signed with the Rams on a 3-year, $48 million deal. Robert Hunt signed with the Panthers 5 years, $100 million. It's a lot of money. Jacksonville re-signed Cleveland, Ezra Cleveland, 3 years, $28.5 million. Damian Lewis, 4 years, $53 million. John Runyon, 3 years, $30 million. That's 10 a year. Jonah Jackson, 3 years, $51 million. And then Graham Glasgow, 3 years, $20 million, re-signing him. I'm bringing this up because Trey Smith, as well as Creed Humphrey and Nick Bolton from the same draft class, they're eligible for new contracts. And I just wonder what this means for Trey Smith in the future, because if Robert Hunt gets 5 years, $100 million, Trey Smith might be able to demand more than that. Are we ready to pay more than $25 million a year to Trey Smith? I think Trey Smith is awesome and is worth that kind of money. And listen, whenever you have a franchise quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you got to spend a lot of money on your offensive line. But you're going to be paying Chris Jones a lot of money. If you find a way to keep L'Jarius Sneed, he's going to cost you a lot of money also. And by the way, Chris Jones, his cap hit this year is not that bad. It's next year where it's going to hurt the most. Listen, here's what would be a good no, Kyle, that would be a lot of dead cap right there. Kyle's asking, could Jawan Taylor be a cap casualty? He could, but you'd be paying a lot of money in dead cap right there. That's not something you would want. But to go back to my comment about Trey Smith and this offensive line here, the Chiefs are already paying a lot of money to Chris Jones, and the big cap it's going to start next year, not this year, next year, because this year you got Chris Jones on a cheap deal. L'Jarius Sneed, he's going to be pretty expensive too, and if you can do something similar where he's cheap this year, but expensive next year. Well, next year you're already in a bind with the salary cap. Let me just say this, because I think let's be real here. We know the Chiefs, the number of times they keep appearing in an AFC Championship game, that's going to come to an end at some point. We know that. It's not going to be every single year. If the Chiefs three-peat, and I think they've got a very good shot at doing so with Chris Jones coming back. If the Chiefs three-peat, then you know what, man? I can live with a little bit of salary cap suffrage for a couple of years. And you'll still be good. You'll still be winning games. You just you're probably not going to contend for a Super Bowl for a couple of years. Listen, Tom Brady went 10 years in between Super Bowl wins. Now, that was for different reasons. He still went to Super Bowls. He just lost to Eli Manning twice during that time span. That includes an undefeated regular season. So you're going to have situations where with this Chiefs team, because of the way they've tried to restructure deals and how they've tried to move all the money around, it's gonna impact the Chiefs at some point down the road, because you can't keep asking Chris Jones to restructure. I mean, not that they've ever asked him to restructure; they keep giving him a lot of money. He got a big contract 4 years ago, and he just got a big one now. And you're kind of at a point now where if you do keep Snead, next year's free agency is going to be a very quiet one, because whoever you sign this offseason, if you do make one big splash, it's going to be like a 1-year deal. The Chiefs are already, kind of in trouble with the salary cap next year. So I don't know what's going to happen, long-term future, because Trey Smith, awesome offensive lineman. I don't want to lose that guy. But if you are paying a lot of these other guys a lot of money, it's going to be hard to retain Trey Smith and maybe even Creed Humphrey. Because what did I say back in training camp? Chris Jones is awesome, and I want him to stay. We all want him to stay. But if you do pay Chris Jones a lot of money, it might make it difficult to keep your offensive line together. You're paying Joe Thuney a lot of money already. He's very well worth it, 100%. I know he didn't play in the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean he's not worth the money. Just one game he missed. I mean, and he was close to playing, supposedly. The Chiefs have the best interior offensive line in the NFL, so hopefully they can three-peat while they have them, because they might not be together much longer. And by much longer, I'm talking 12 months from now. This is the part that sucks. When you draft so well, which the Chiefs have done, you got to pick and choose who you keep. I saw someone on Facebook say, the Chiefs are going to regret letting Willie Gay walk. Well, you can't re-sign everybody. And I know $5 million, sounds like a little if you're an NFL player or an NFL team. But that $5 million needs to go to something else. If you're Kansas City, you got to focus on making sure you can find a way to improve this offense. Because if this defense continues to play very well, and if you can find ways to improve that offense, and I trust the Chiefs will do that this offseason, Chiefs are going to be a dangerous football team next year. I'm not suggesting they'll go undefeated. That is impossible to do. The Patriots were 1 quarter away from doing it. That was back when they had a 16-game season. This is a 17-game season, so it's even a little harder now. But the Chiefs have an opportunity to go and win 14 or 15 games if they can make the right improvements on offense, specifically with wide receiver and left tackle. Because let me just say this. Let's say the Chiefs find a way to re-sign L'Jarius Sneed, and my confidence level on re-signing Sneed has gone up a little bit after the Mahomes restructure. Because what's the point of restructuring Mahomes? 2 reasons. Free agency, so you can sign other guys, and so you can keep L'Jarius Sneed. If you keep L'Jarius Sneed, who's the biggest loss on your defense right now? Willie Gay, and I like Willie Gay. I've been praising him throughout this podcast, but I do think he is replaceable. I think Leo Chenal can do the things that Willie Gay did on this football team, 100%. I really do. Derek Nottie, well, I think Mike Pennell can fill in for him this season. So at the end of the day, the losses on defense with Willie Gay going on to New Orleans, not as detrimental as you might think. Because your defensive back play is very good, even without Snead. I think with Snead, it's astronomically better. Chris Jones, we all know what he does for this defense, helps everyone around him. The ends, the edge rushers, the linebackers, they all benefit from having Chris Jones around. So if the Chiefs can find a way to keep Snead and just make a couple of improvements on offense, I really like Kansas City's chances of trying to three-peat. Why do you think Justin Reid hasn't been extended yet to lower his cap? I don't know. I'm not sure, Matt. They might still do that. There's still time to do that. Because for not everyone, I mean, it sounds like everyone's gone almost, but no, you still have a lot of free agents available. But yeah, that's a good idea. That might be something the Chiefs might want to look into if they want a three-peat. Because here's my thing. If the Chiefs three-peat, cool. You do something that's never been done in NFL history. You went 3 in a row. You win 4 in the span of 6 years, 4 Super Bowls in the span of 6 years. I'm okay with a little bit of salary cap suffrage for a couple of years. You can't win them every year. You just can't. So I think you might endure that pretty damn soon, Matt. Look, I'm not saying that because I think the Chiefs are going to suck, but it's just gonna happen. By the way, I forgot to mention, Charlie, thanks for bringing this up. Yeah, Tommy Townsend did sign with the Houston Texans, found a new home there. But Charlie also mentions Butker needs a raise also. Hopefully this new punter we got can get the ball down for him as good as Tommy Townsend did. Yeah, I do want to touch on this because there was a kicker who signed a very big deal. Jake Elliott, the Eagles signed Jake Elliott to a 4-year extension, making him the highest paid kicker, giving him $24 million in the span of that 4 years. So you do the simple math there. Well, I just got out of that. You're giving the kicker $6 million a year. I remember a few years ago, or 20 years ago, I should say, guys like Vinatieri and Vanderjagt, they were getting roughly $3, $4, maybe $5 million a year, and now that's going up a bit. Doesn't sound like a whole lot by NFL terms, but it's just one of those things that you got to be careful with how much money you're spending on special teams players. I know Tommy Townsend is not making that much money in Houston, but you know what? The Chiefs got the punt god for a much cheaper price. Every dollar amount. If you found a way to keep Tommy Townsend and Willie Gay, that is roughly $8 million there. So the Chiefs, what they have available with the salary cap right now, it would be half of that if they kept Townsend and Willie Gay for the same deals that they got elsewhere in New Orleans and Houston. Leo Chenal going to be a pass rush guy next year. Yeah, I think so. He went after the quarterback a lot this year. He had a lot of quarterback hits for a guy who was not a starting linebacker. So I like the things that Leo Chenal did last year. You gotta sack Lamar Jackson, though, on that play, though. He was right there to get him. Now, the Chiefs defense, they did it. That was like the only big play they allowed. It was 2 big plays. The other one was the Zay Flowers play, which we all know how that ended. So we'll see. Would $15 million be enough for Snead and a wide receiver, though? Yes, because understand this, though. The $15 million in cap space right now, that includes the franchise tag on L'Jarius Snead. I think I should clarify this because I think a lot of people are not aware of this. The $15 million in cap space right now you have, all of that includes the 1-year contract, if you will, of the franchise tag on L'Jarius Snead. That's already included. So we'll see what the Chiefs do with that. If they can find a way to do something similar with the Chris Jones deal, where it's very light the first year and then more the second year, because that way you can do more, because that'll free up more cap space with the team this year. Scott's asking, can we restructure Jawan's contract? You could, but Jawan Taylor is not going to do it. Let me read this for Jawan Taylor. His cap hit this year is $19.5 million. Last year, if it comes up, I don't know if the storm is ruining the good old Wi-Fi here. None of you guys, I mean, you guys can still hear me and all that, so that's good. Okay, it's choosing not to come up on my computer. Let me just pull it up on my phone real quickly. Jawaan Taylor over the cap. Sorry, guys, bear with me here. Was not expecting the internet to be as slow as it is today. But he signed a 4-year, $80 million contract last offseason. $60 million of that is guaranteed. Okay, maybe over the cap website's down. Yeah, over the cap's website's down. Okay, so his cap hit last year was, according to Spotrac, $5.8 million. This year, it's $24.725 million, and it's the same for the next 3 years. There's a potential out after the 2025 season, but Jawaan Taylor did not make a lot of money last year. I mean, $5 million, that's a lot of money. But compared to what he's getting this year, it is almost 5 times more. So he's probably not going to agree to a restructured deal because he already took a less deal his first year to be with the team. So I don't think that happens. Listen, I think Jawaan Taylor is a good pass blocker. Listen, the BS with him and the whole the way he lines up, he did that all preseason. Nobody said a word. He did that his entire time in Jacksonville. Lane Johnson does the exact same thing. And Dean Blandino was on Sirius XM NFL radio and even kind of said something similar, that Lane Johnson kind of pushes the envelope, if you will. His words, not mine. So I think Jawaan Taylor got picked on for unnecessary reasons last year because they put Prince Tega Wanogho out there in the Chicago game when it was a blowout win for the Chiefs. So they were able to do things that they would not do in a normal game. They told Prince Tega Wanogho to do the exact same thing, line up the exact same way, jump the exact same way, and the referees weren't throwing flags. I mean, this is all on film here, guys. So my point is the penalties, don't let that get in the way of Jawaan Taylor with his performance. I think he needs to play better. I don't think he was a terrible pass blocker, but he could be better. I thought he had good games at times as a pass blocker. So, by the way, I love the stat out there that Chiefs haters are throwing, that the Chiefs have never had a holding call against them in the 3 Super Bowl wins they've been a part of. How much do you have to hate on Kansas City to notice that kind of thing, to even pay attention to that kind of thing? I think it's hilarious. KT's offside was wrong too. I don't really disagree, Heath. I thought it was weird that Von Miller was not called for offsides a couple plays later, but welcome to the NFL, man, where referees suck. In your opinion, who is the next wideout we are getting in free agency? Yeah, I'm not really sure. Hollywood Brown would be nice. If you're talking an inexpensive player, you might have to look the Odell Beckham Jr. route. And I know that's not what a lot of Chiefs fans like to hear, but maybe he could play better if he's in this offense with Mahomes and Andy Reid. I don't know. Because here's my thing. If you have Rashee Rice coming back, if you can find a way to get Odell Beckham Jr. on a bargain deal, and if you would go and draft 2, maybe 3 wide receivers and hope that 1, maybe 2 of them step up, maybe one of them can be kind of like a Puka Nacua, where, you know, they were a 5th or 6th round pick and they play better than most people expect, that could be a very successful draft there. So you do increase your odds of getting at least 1 solid receiver in the draft if you draft 3 receivers this year. Because I could see the Chiefs going heavy on wide receivers in the draft for obvious reasons, with the drops and all. So let's see how that unfolds. I think the Chiefs still, you know, they're holding out hope on Justin Ross that he might play well. McCole Hardman, McCole Hardman is still very young. People forget that with McCole Hardman. Because what is he, 25 years old? 26. He just turned 26 yesterday. So, you know, Kadarius Toney's still young. Could he maybe resurrect his career? Have a rebound? I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, Justin Watson's still around. You have a lot of interesting decisions to make with the wide receivers this year for Kansas City. So, Should be a lot of fun to watch. First wave of free agency in the book. So we'll see how the second wave goes. By the way, Charlie Weiss had an interesting point on his radio show. How is it that at 12 o'clock on Monday, the legal tampering period starts and right away you see deals being made? Because the legal tampering period, or not the legal, illegal tampering period, that starts in the combine, at the combine, 100%. That's when deals are made. And I'm kind of like, if you're the NFL, shouldn't you find a way around that now? I mean, why do you wait? Why do you wait for that? I think they need to change the rules of free agency because we know conversations are happening long before free agency starts, long before the legal tampering period, as they like to say. So I don't know, just food for thought there. Hey, real quickly, I do want to share a couple of things. So the Big 12 tournament's going on in Kansas City. The women's tournament was going on last week. The NCAA wrestling was going on in downtown Kansas City. A lot of good stuff going on in Kansas City. So over the weekend, I attended Planet Comic-Con. Yes, Planet Comic-Con. My first ever Comic-Con. I've been wanting to go for years, but it just never matched up with my schedule in the past. I finally got to go this year. I am telling you, I know what a lot of you guys think. Oh, it's cosplay, and there are probably some, weirdos with weird color hair. Yeah, sure. There was some of that, and that might not be your thing, but that's fine. I'm telling you, Planet Comic-Con, was it nerdy? Yeah, maybe too nerdy. And that's what made it awesome. I'm being facetious. It wasn't that nerdy. First of all, you got to rub elbows and meet a lot of cool celebrities at this event. There were even celebrities there. I did not know who they were, but I just did a quick Google search on my phone. I'm like, holy shit, I actually know this person's work, like their voiceover work, but I was not aware that they're here and that they did all this. So there were a lot of cool things. So you get to meet celebrities, and then there are a lot of booths at the show. And I got myself some artwork here for the man cave. So I got this. This was by Chris Rao. Really cool artwork. I already posted a picture of this and I shouted out his Instagram. So if you guys can go, let me just quickly look at what is his Instagram here. I'll show off his artwork in a second. Chris _Rao_art. Chris Rao art. Chris _Rao_art. Rao is spelled R-A-U. He's got a lot of great artwork. Please go check out his Instagram. Because I saw these and I had to grab them. And I'll say this right now, they're very inexpensive and very cool too. So this is the Super Bowl 54 artwork that he did, which is awesome. And then he kept the same design for Super Bowl 57. And look at that. Look at Kadarius Toney right there. I mean, doing that whole thing. Nick Bolton's touchdown. Sky Moore, his celebration on his way to the end zone. These are really cool. And then I got the Super Bowl 58 one, which, again, is just beautiful. I mean, you have Hardman in there. You have the Trent McDuffie play on Deebo Samuel. I mean, just so creative. McCole Hardman, Harrison Butker, MVS, actual plays that happened in that Super Bowl. Very, very cool. I actually need to get Chris on the podcast sometime to maybe show more of his work, because he's got a lot of, he's a local guy. He does not go to other Comic-Cons, at least to my knowledge. I know he's been going to Kansas City's Comic-Con, which is called Planet Comic-Con, for a very long time. So check out his work. Chris _Rao _art on Instagram. This I had to get. This is really cool. So this is a Mount Rushmore of the current Chiefs guys. And I got this the day after the Chris Jones re-sign, which was really cool. So it's a Mount Rushmore of the four best Chiefs right now, which is Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones, and Andy Reid. Obviously, Andy Reid not a player, but still a big part of this team's dynasty. And they have others too. They have the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers, other teams, video game characters. So I had to get this. This is from Rushmore Art. This is really cool. Trying to make sure because I can't see. Yeah, there it is. This is pretty cool, man. This is pretty cool. I'd love to put this in the background somewhere, but I don't know if it's going to show as well. So, but I had to get this. So it's either going to be in the background here of this setup I've got, or it's going to go into the man cave. So, couple others I'll show off real quickly here. So this, I did not know who this actor was, this voice actor. He's done a lot of stuff that I did not realize I was a fan of. So Jason Marston, he also was on a couple of episodes of Full House as well. Really cool. So he was in one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite animated movies, Spirited Away. He was Haku. I told him that he absolutely hit a home run with this role here. I thought he did a terrific job with it. He also was the voice of Noel in Final Fantasy 13 2. So I had to get that as well from him. So I got 2 autographs from him. Really, really cool guy. I met a legend, Henry Winkler. Look at that. I'm telling you right now, guys. And by the way, for those of you on the podcast version, the picture of Winkler fist bumping Patrick Mahomes, that was one of the 8x10s they had available. I had to get that to have him sign it. The other half, not yet signed. Maybe one day. Let me just say this about Henry Winkler, because he had a really big line at Planet Comic-Con. He would leave his booth every 15 minutes just to go say hi to everyone in line and thank them for waiting, and just to assure them that he will get to everyone. I don't know if you guys have been able to feel this way about certain people, but sometimes when you meet someone right off the bat and in less than 5 minutes, you can actually tell if this person is genuinely a very nice person just by the way they act within the first 5 minutes. You can tell, you're like, man, this person's probably nice the entire time. They're every day in life. I'm telling you right now, that is and I've heard this about Henry Winkler a lot, but you hear a lot of things about celebrities. I've always heard Henry Winkler is super nice. That could not be any closer to the truth. I mean, Henry Winkler, seriously, might be the most painfully nicest guy in the world. I'm being a little facetious using the word painfully, but man, he could not have been any nicer. And I asked him too. A lot of you guys asked me, you're like, did you ask him about the Mahomes dinner yet? I did ask. And he just put his arms up. He's like, nope, still hasn't done it yet. So hopefully that happens soon. This is, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen Malibu's Most Wanted. He was also on MTV's Blowing It Up with Stu Stone. Jamie Kennedy, man. I was so excited when Jamie Kennedy was there. I don't know if you guys can see that. He signed it. He wrote, "Don't be hating" in the corner. And then they write like I don't know what does that say? I don't know what that says, but I don't know. Jamie Kennedy was so cool. Everybody was cool, and they kind of have to be because people are paying a lot of money for these events. And by the way, I did research on this. Some of these actors make 6 figures going to Comic-Cons. So does Henry Winkler hate being called Fonzie? No, not at all. In fact, one of his whenever a celebrity shows up to their booth at a Comic-Con, at least the one I went to, they want you to kind of chant one of their one of the things they're known for. And one of the Comic-Con managers were like, all right, let's chant Fonzie. And everyone was doing it. And he kind of liked it. He was fine. So I think he likes it. A lot of people had the jersey too for him to sign. This one, I was very excited to get signed. You guys all know I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Final Fantasy X, one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, this voice actress was one of the reasons why I had to go to Planet Comic-Con. Now, I was not expecting them to have 8x10s of this photo. This is Riku from Final Fantasy X, voiced by Tara Strong, who one of the best voice actors of all time. This was awesome. When I saw that she had Riku 8x10s, I was like, holy shit, I will pay double for this. Okay, maybe not that, but I was maybe a little too excited for that, and I had to control my my excitement there. I got a few other Comic-Con swag, but I won't show all of that off. I'm telling you guys right now, yeah, Comic-Con sound nerdy, and they are, but trust me, you will see people from all walks of life in a Comic-Con event. If you have never been to a Comic-Con in your life, go. I don't care if it's Kansas City's Comic-Con. I don't care if it's the big San Diego Comic-Con or another Comic-Con nearby in Oklahoma City or wherever. Do some research, see what actors are available, but trust me, you will want to go, and you might want to show up early for these and just be ready to stand in line. One suggestion, they have these collapsible stools that you can bring and sit on, and then you can basically fold them up and put them in your backpack. If you're like me and you've had multiple knee surgeries, you definitely might want something like that. So I had a blast. I don't know if I'm going to go back next year. I saw the dates already. It's already not looking good for my schedule next year. But I am going to damn well try to attend. I'll say this right now. I am 100% going to attend a Comic-Con outside of Kansas City this year, before football season, preferably. So I'm going to try to do that because that is how much fun I had. And one thing, to my understanding, they try to not bring the same guests 2 years in a row. That way they can mix it up. But a lot of people are requesting for a lot of celebrities to come back because this was the 25th year anniversary. The line for people to pick up their tickets on Saturday, if they did not get to pick them up early, was around the entire building twice. They actually did one of those like double lines where there were too many people, so they had to kind of like fold it inside, if that makes sense. That was insane. I've never seen a line that long for anything. I've been to Chiefs events. And by the way, let me say this too, because I've been to meet and greets for athletes. Some of them are really, really nice, but then there are some who look like they do not give a shit. Like they don't give a fuck about the fans that are there. And it's like, man, I kind of regret even getting an autograph from you. I'm not going to drop names. But I've had that happen before. I did not have that thought for any of the celebrities I met over the weekend. And I met several. So trust me, when you go to a Comic-Con event, it is pricey. You're going to need a lot of cash with you, but the celebrities are absolutely excited to want to interact and meet fans. Some of them might, try to be quick about it if they have long lines. Like Matthew Lillard had an insane long line all weekend, and there were a lot of people pissed off because they never got to meet him. So anyway, Planet Comic-Con, awesome event. My first Comic-Con ever. I will go to another one this year outside of Kansas City. I'm willing to travel for one. Maybe not the big San Diego one, because I don't know what to expect with that one. I might get overwhelmed with that, how big it is, the event overall. But I would love to attend a San Diego Comic-Con in the future. Trust me, you've got to attend a Comic-Con if you've never gone before. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the Chief Zone Podcast. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Appreciate you guys being with me live on Facebook and on YouTube on this Wednesday night. If you guys are in Kansas City, stay safe with all the storms. Thankfully, we did not lose connection. I was kind of hoping we would. It would have been an interesting podcast. Why not? But hey, stay safe if you're out there. Otherwise, I will talk to you all later. Take care.